Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And for those who follow me, as I've said in some of my previous videos, the FBI, the IRS, this is going to be a very, very busy season for a reason. And this next year or two, it is going to be a ton of indictments in at least three categories. Of course, the entertainment industry that we've seen that is taking a huge hit with the Survivors Act and many of these allegations that have taken place with some of these powerful and prominent people, politicians, especially in these blue cities where the sanctuary migrant situation has become a debacle. These politicians better be dotting their I's and crossing their T's, because some of them are going to be getting indicted, very similar to Eric Adams, the mayor of New York. And thirdly, the next group that is definitely going to be nervous and on their heels are the individuals who falsified these PPP loans during the pandemic. There has been all kinds of arrogance and hubris that has taken place with thousands of individuals who created shell companies, falsified government documents in order to receive the free pandemic relief money, and their companies were shell companies. And I'm seeing all types of individuals. And this particular story that I have for you is about a Phoenix, Arizona, ABC former news anchor, a woman who allegedly her and her husband stole millions in PPP fraud, in a PPP fraud scheme that could almost enter into the billions, because they had other people they were helping other individuals create shell companies, and they called it free money. And they also charged a fee for helping other individuals submit falsified documents. So you got to hear this story. And for those who thought that free money and falsifying those documents was not going to eventually bite them in the butt, there are thousands of individuals, hundreds of thousands of individuals that are nervous today as the FBI and the IRS are going through their auditing of all of the money that they gave to these companies and trying to find out what companies are real and not real. There are some nervous folks out here. So listen to this egregious story. Former Phoenix ABC 15 anchor Stephanie Hockridge and her husband are due to appear in court in Dallas for a Paycheck Protection Program fraud scheme that has run into the hundreds of millions of dollars. And this is the brief part of it. This is the brief. A former ABC 15 anchor and her husband appeared in Dallas court on November 25th for a Paycheck Protection Program fraud scheme. The couple is accused of submitting false loans for themselves and others. The misappropriation of PPP funds is to be believed in the amount of several billions of dollars. Stephanie Hockridge, a former anchor at ABC 15 in Phoenix, and her husband, Nathan Reyes, are accused of submitting false and fraudulent Paycheck Protection Program loans, PPP. The couple took out loans for themselves and then showed others how easy it was to get taxpayer cash in a scheme worth hundreds of millions of dollars set against the backdrop of the global pandemic relief. Criminals and criminal organizations took advantage of Americans suffering during the crisis and committed substantial fraud against these critical pandemic relief programs, said Representative Jim Clyburn during the 2022 CV Pandemic Committee hearings. Among the alleged criminals were Hockridge and her husband. During a federal hearing, numbers reaching into the billions are discussed. It says, I think it was 57,000 applications in PPP were for applicants who were on the do not pay list, involving several billions of dollars, said Inspector General Michael Horowitz at the height of the pandemic. Hockridge and Reese, her husband, Riaz, are accused of attempting to directly charge some applicants a 10% fee for successfully getting a loan, which is a violation of the Small Business Administration rules. A review of the loan showed what the couple were willing to do for the money, including Riaz claiming in an application that he was African American and a veteran, and he's not. Look at the arrogance here. And they think that they're going to get over on the federal government with this. Other evidence showed Ms. Hockridge describing the PPP program as a $100 billion worth of free money. She allegedly said this. And although the PPP loans were set up for small businesses, Hockridge told her staff, "Who the F cares? We're not the first bank to decline borrowers who deserve to be funded. They can go elsewhere." Riaz and Hockridge also requested direct payments from PPP borrowers, ultimately scamming them out of substantial amounts of their loans. So they helped other individuals submit loan applications. Then they charged a 10% kickback fee that was directly paid to them. And sometimes they got more than even the 10%, which was illegal according to the Small Business Administration rules. So they got their own personal loans, and then they went out and helped hundreds and thousands of people to apply for these same loans. And Ms. Hockridge, who was a Phoenix ABC anchor at ABC 15 for a number of years, she said, "Who the F cares? This is all free money." The entire process, laid out in a 90-second video, is now at the center of the alleged federal deception. Goes on to say the duo took their stolen millions to set up a lavish lifestyle in Puerto Rico, where her husband was taken into custody by federal authorities. Both Hockridge and Riaz are charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and 4 counts of wire fraud. Ms. Hockridge was summoned to appear in Dallas, Texas court on November 25th. They face up to 20 years in prison on each count if convicted. Doesn't this story sound the same over and over again? Where people think everything that glitters is not always gold. The easy way is not always the best way. Not only are you forging these federal documents and submitting them to the federal government, not your state or city local agencies. This is the federal government that governs the entire country. How these individuals think that they're going to get over on this machine that runs our country is beyond me. And then the first thing they do once they get this free money fraudulently is that they go out and buy consumer goods and based on consumption and buying material things that are way beyond what their income statements and their tax returns say. They are shedding several lights, and many people do this all the time. They go out and buy luxury cars, multiple homes, and their income doesn't align with all of these material items. And for some reason, they don't think the banking system, the U.S. government, the IRS, accountants are going to realize that there is something going amok on an individual or a couple who has amassed all of these things. And it shows that, oh, by the way, they got a few $1 million or several $1 million based on the PPP loan forgiveness. So let's go and look and see if their company is a real company or a shell company. And many times, 9 times out of 10, it comes to the realization that they forged and faked all of these documents. This has happened over and over and over again. So this is a video and a telltale story that those who did this several years ago, the chickens are going to come home to roost. And the federal government and the IRS, the alphabet organizations are coming after you. The feds, the IRS, they are going to be knocking on many individuals' doors who thought that they were going to fraudulently access this money, beknownst to the federal government, and think that they would get away with it. This was in Phoenix, Arizona, ABC 15 news anchor at one time. So she was already a popular person. And then her and her husband decided to fraudulently take advantage of the PPP loan forgiveness program and didn't think they would get caught. They are looking at decades in prison. And unfortunately, based on Miss Hockridge's position as an ABC anchor at one time in Phoenix, I think they're going to make an example of her. And they allegedly were helping and assisting other people in this fraudulent activity. Such a sad case. Greed, arrogance, thinking that you're smarter than the law will eventually catch up with you. Tell me what you think of this story. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth.